Hello and welcome to my counter. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel typically sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today I am not on that side of the counter, so it's not a recipe, but it is a tag, or rather no tag Tuesday, even though I'm not out on the porch, because it is currently raining and we are expecting some thunderstorms, which I personally cannot wait for. So I couldn't be out on the porch, so I'm doing my tag from the counter this week. Now these questions come from Carrie and her granddaughter Ada from Weight Watchers with Carrie, and all of the questions will be listed down in the description box, and there will be links to other channels that are doing this tag. So let us get on with the questions. This is, they called it a parent-child favorites. And you know me and favorites, not my favorite. But I'm going to push through. I did go over these questions with Paul, so I should have answers as long as I remember everything we went over. Number 1, what is your favorite animal and why? My choice would be a crow. I've always had an affinity for crows. It's kind of like a spirit guide kind of animal. I always see them all the time. I have always noticed them for some reason. And I even ended up putting one in my fantasy novel that I need to get back to rewriting because I had such a profound connection with them. I don't know exactly why. I just know it started probably in high school. I started noticing them all around all the time, and for some reason was just always drawn to them. So I'm going with crow. Number 2 is a 2-part question. First, what is your favorite color? If we have to go primary and secondary, I'd go green, but really my favorite color is kind of like the greenish edge of teal. I love that teal color, kind of a mix of the blue and green. But the second part of the question is your favorite item in that color that you own. And at first I was thinking, I don't think I really have anything. And then Paul said, my glasses are kind of that color, at least on the inside. I don't know if it looks that way from the outside. It looks more of a dark blue, but on the inside it's kind of got a teal cast to it. So I'm gonna go with my glasses. Number 3, favorite recipe or dinner? Now, you know, I just go by my whims, so I don't really know for sure that I can pick a favorite, but one that I find really satisfying is lasagna, the layers of pasta, the texture, mostly it's the texture of it. But I really enjoy that. Pizza is also a good option because you can do all sorts of varieties. But I think for making it simple, which you know is not my way, I'm going to go with lasagna. Although really it depends. Number 4, favorite movie or TV show? As Paul and I discussed this question, because you know I don't really have a favorite. I have many different ones that I like, all different kinds of genres. But as Paul and I were talking about this, I decided that I would go with our most recent favorite series, and that was Heartstopper on Netflix. It's a story of a boy who is gay in high school and how he meets someone he has a crush on, and he doesn't know if he's straight or not, and their connection. And it was just very well acted, very well directed. And it was kind of like a very complex emotional story as far as what the viewer goes through, at least for me and Paul, and for many that I saw react to it on YouTube. Because at one moment, you're kind of like, It's very joyful, very, uplifting in many ways. But then there's also, for some who have seen it, kind of like a sadness to it on a personal note, because it's like we didn't get to live that way through our high school years. So it's kind of like a bittersweet kind of thing. It's like great show, very uplifting, as I said, great acting. The story was perfect, very real, but at the same time kind of made you kind of a wistful feeling, kind of like, I wish that that had been what I'd experienced, but you're also glad that they experienced it, if that makes any sense. But Heartstopper on Netflix, I definitely recommend it. Number 5, favorite place to visit. Now, that kind of gives it an open-ended feeling, because place to visit could be anything. Could be a garden, could be your grandmother's house, if that's your favorite place. But when we were discussing it, Paul and I both had the same answer. We had visited Montreal 1 year around Christmas time. Absolutely loved it. We went to a restaurant where it was like back in the 1800s with like the fur trappers and all that kind of stuff. And they would come up and speak French to you. And if you didn't speak French, they would make fun of you, kind of like, in a playful way, not derogatory way. And I remember, I believe I had my cell phone, and they were like marveling at it, because they were like, what is this thing? It was a lot of fun. But not just the restaurant. There was also, we went to a church, which I guess Paul remembered this better than I did, because he said it was like a replica of Notre Dame, but they had it all decorated inside and outside for Christmas. And it was just beautiful to go in and see all the lights and everything. I remember we went to a little ornament shop nearby. Love that. There is the underground city where you go underground and you go to all the shops and restaurants and things. We just loved it. So that would be one of my favorite places to visit. Number 6, place you would love to visit or vacation. Now this gives the assumption that you probably haven't been there before. And again, Paul and I had pretty similar responses. I was thinking of like a Mediterranean cruise. He was thinking European, but we could, merge in there, because I would love to see Greece. That's where I would love to go. He wanted to go to Paris, which was never one of my favorites, and actually never one of his either to go to. But recently he's been seeing videos online that someone who had moved to Paris, and seeing the things through their eyes made him more interested in going there. But the one place I'd love to go, if I couldn't be vague and just say like a Mediterranean cruise, I'm going with Greece. Number 7, most favorite gift you have ever been given. I immediately knew my response to this was, for my 50th birthday, Paul took me to Universal Studios, because they had come out with their Harry Potter section, Hogwarts and Diagon Alley and all of that stuff. So he took me there for an extended weekend for my birthday. Had the best time ever, so I think that would have to be my favorite. He said his favorite gift was me, which, you can see why. But then I said, come on, be serious. And his favorite was this box set of the Lord of the Rings movies that I had given him fairly early on in our relationship. So that was his favorite, because it made him realize that I was paying attention to him, really hearing what he was interested in, and that showed that to him. So that was his favorite. Number 8, favorite subject in school. This was the only easy one on here for me. Mine was hands down, as you probably suspect, English. I mean, I did become an English teacher. I do want to be a writer, with a side of algebra, because algebra was always kind of like a puzzle to me, and I loved trying to figure out what the answer was. I used to go after class and ask the teacher if she had any extra worksheets that I could take home just to play with on my own. Yes, nerd. But that was just one. That wasn't my favorite. My favorite was English, although the one thing I hated in English, never understood why they did it, was diagramming sentences where you had to do this line and then offshoot lines, and that never, even now, does not make any sense to me. What are you doing? Why are you making this convoluted little structure to show the parts of a sentence? I never understood it, still don't understand it, but I don't have to deal with it. Number 9, favorite hobby. Mine, which is probably very similar to Kim over at A Girl on Her Phone, was crafting. Now, because of my neuropathy and myopathy, I can't really do the things that I enjoyed. I used to do cross stitch. I used to do sewing, like I'd sew Christmas stockings for people. I used to do painting of ornaments and things, but I can't really do that anymore because my hands and arms are not steady enough to actually do anything with any precision. So that was my favorite hobby, but now it would probably be cooking, especially baking, and trying to come up with recipes. For Paul, it would be anything technological stuff he absolutely loves. If there's something new, he likes to get his hands on it or learn how it works and things like that. He loves technological stuff, which probably makes it a good thing that he works in the computer field, but anyway. And number 10, your favorite thing or quality about yourself. Now, when I first saw this question, I thought, oh, this is going to be difficult because, you know, trying to speak about yourself and, oh, look at this about me is not my thing. But actually, once I read it out loud to Paul, I immediately knew it was my creativity. Whether it's my crafting, whether it's my writing, whether it's coming up with different things in the recipes. I love trying to find new ways of doing something, of using something. So mine would definitely be my creativity. Paul, his would be his mind. He's very logical, very methodical. Another good reason he's in the computer and technological field. But mine would definitely be my creativity. And that was it. That was all 10 questions. So thank you, Carrie and Ada over at Weight Watchers with Carrie. You know, favorites are not my favorite, but these weren't too bad. I think it really does help me going over things ahead of time with Paul. Next week, I don't think we have a schedule out yet, so I don't know who will be doing it next week. It'll be a surprise for all of us. We don't know yet, but I hope that you will tune in then. Go down to the description box for all of the questions, for all of the links to the other channels that are doing these tags, and also all my social media and other links, other ways to connect with me are down there. Also down there is the link to my recipe blog. If there are any of my recipes that you're looking for, check out the description box for all that kind of information. And until next time, bye.